Small in size, big in value, welcome to the world of rare US dimes, where a simple 10-cent coin can hold incredible history and surprising worth. Stick around, because you won't want to miss the amazing stories and values behind these tiny treasures. Do you ever pick up a dime and see something more than just 10 cents? Today's first coin has just that kind of surprise. It's small, it's familiar, and it's something we've all used at some point. But once you look closer, there's a story behind it, one that shows how an ordinary coin can become something highly valuable. We're starting off with the 1995 P. Roosevelt dime, struck at the Philadelphia Mint. This coin is part of a long-running series that's still in use today, and most people wouldn't think twice about tossing one into a vending machine. But this particular year and mint mark combination has gained attention from collectors, not because it's rare by mintage, but because of the condition in which a few examples have survived. Let's go back to the basics. The Roosevelt dime was first introduced in 1946, right after the death of President Franklin D. Roosevelt. It replaced the Mercury dime and was designed to honor Roosevelt's leadership, as well as his connection to the March of Dimes campaign, which helped fund research against polio. John R. Sinek designed the coin, and it has kept that same design for decades, a simple portrait of FDR on the obverse, and a torch flanked by branches on the reverse. By 1995, the U.S. Mint was producing these dimes in huge quantities. In Philadelphia alone, more than 5 billion Roosevelt dimes were struck that year. That's a staggering number, and it means the 1995 P dime is extremely common in most cases. For everyday purposes, this coin is just one of many. You could easily find one in change, and unless it's in particularly good shape, it's probably worth exactly what it says, 10 cents. So what makes this one different? It all comes down to condition, specifically, how well a coin was preserved from the moment it left the mint. Most dimes from 1995 entered circulation and were quickly scratched, worn, and handled over and over. But once in a while, a coin escapes all of that. It might have been pulled directly from a fresh roll, carefully set aside by a collector, or sealed in original packaging where it stayed untouched for years. In these cases, the coin avoids all the surface wear and tiny contact marks that usually appear, and that's where the value begins to build. When a coin like this is sent to a grading service, like PCGS or NGC, it's evaluated for its surface condition, strike, luster, and overall eye appeal. Grading services assign it a score on the Mint State (MS) scale, which ranges from 60 to 70. Coins that grade MS65 or MS66 are considered very nice, but MS67 and above is where things start getting rare. Each higher grade means a cleaner, sharper, more well-preserved coin, but even among Mint State coins, not all are created equal. Some examples of the 1995 P. Roosevelt dime have been found with exceptionally strong strikes and near-flawless surfaces, coins that appear almost untouched, with mirror-like fields and sharply defined details. These are the coins that stand out to serious collectors, especially when very few exist in that top-tier condition. Let's also talk about population reports. These are official records from grading companies showing how many coins exist at each grade level. For the 1995 P dime, you'll see huge numbers in lower grades, but only a handful that make it into MS68 or MS69. When a coin reaches that level, and especially if it's the highest graded example known, it becomes highly desirable. Collectors who specialize in Roosevelt dimes, or modern high-grade coins in general, are always on the lookout for the best example available. Another factor is what's known as eye appeal. Even if two coins have the same grade, one may look better simply because of how the light reflects off it, or how clean the surfaces appear under magnification. These visual differences can drive up the price, especially when buyers are trying to complete a registry set or build the best collection possible. Now, keep in mind, not every shiny dime is valuable. Most 1995 P dimes, even in good shape, are worth around a few dollars if they're in average uncirculated condition. MS65 or MS66 examples might bring $10 to $50, and MS67s might go up to a few $100s, depending on the market. But once you reach that top level, coins graded MS69 or higher, with perfect or nearly perfect surfaces, you've entered a completely different price range. and here's where things get interesting. One particular 1995 P. Roosevelt dime, graded at an extremely high level by a major grading service, caught the attention of collectors when it appeared at auction. This coin had everything: nearly flawless surfaces, excellent luster, full details, and a clear strike. According to the population data, it was one of the finest known, and possibly the only one at its grade. Collectors recognized the opportunity. Registry set builders, high-grade modern coin collectors, and dealers all knew this coin wouldn't come around again anytime soon. With so few top-tier examples available, demand grew quickly. And after competitive bidding, the final sale price reached a surprising number. This 1995 P. Roosevelt dime, the same type you might find in pocket change, sold for $60,000. So how does a 10-cent coin reach that value? It's not just about what the coin is, it's about how rare it is in perfect condition, how many people want it, and how few are available. In the coin world, that's what drives prices. Even modern coins, when preserved this well, can become major highlights in a collection. It's a great reminder to always check your change, and to pay attention to quality when building a collection. Let's move on to our next coin, and this one might surprise you even more, because it's not old, it's not silver, and it's not rare in terms of how many were made. At first glance, it might not look like anything special. It's not old. It's not silver. It was made less than 2 decades ago. In fact, there's a good chance you've held this exact type of coin in your own hands, maybe even spent one at a gas station or found one in your change. We're talking about the 2006 P. Roosevelt dime, a coin that most people overlook every single day. This dime was minted at the Philadelphia Mint in 2006. That year, over 1 billion Roosevelt dimes were produced from this facility alone. These were everyday circulation coins, made in huge quantities, meant to be used, not collected. And because of that, very few people took the time to save them in pristine condition. But here's what makes this coin interesting: even though billions were made, finding just one that's essentially flawless, untouched, perfectly struck, and well preserved, is almost impossible. That's because dimes from this time weren't packaged in any special way for collectors. Most went straight into bags, rolled up by machines, and shipped off to banks. Along the way, they picked up all kinds of tiny marks and scratches, what collectors call contact marks, from bouncing against other coins and moving through machines. But in rare cases, a few coins avoid all that. Maybe they were taken directly from a fresh roll and stored carefully. Maybe someone recognized its clean surfaces and sharp details early on. Or maybe it just got lucky and avoided the usual wear and tear. Whatever the case, these nearly perfect coins stand out when they're discovered, and they stand out even more when they're graded professionally. The most trusted grading companies, like PCGS and NGC, evaluate coins using the mint state (MS) scale. That scale goes from MS60 to MS70, with MS70 being a perfect, flawless coin. Most uncirculated coins fall somewhere in the low to mid-60s. Getting into the high 60s is rare, and the closer you get to MS70, the more valuable a coin becomes. Now here's where this particular 2006 P dime makes its mark. One example of this coin was submitted to PCGS, and it received a grade of MS69 with full torch designation. That's just 1 point below a perfect 70, and for a modern circulation coin, it's an extremely tough grade to achieve. The full torch designation is another key factor. It refers to the reverse design, where the torch shows full horizontal and vertical lines, a sign that the coin was struck very sharply. Not all dimes, even uncirculated ones, show this level of detail. So when you combine an ultra-high grade with full torch, you're looking at something rare. Even more important, at the time it was graded, this was the only coin of its kind at that level. According to PCGS population reports, it was a population 1 coin. No others had achieved that same MS69 full torch designation for the 2006 P issue. And that changed everything. In coin collecting, being the best-known example is a big deal. Registry set collectors, especially those competing for top rankings, are always looking for coins that will push their collections to the top. Owning the highest graded example of a specific date and mint mark can make a huge difference in competitive sets. That demand often drives prices far beyond what most people expect. This coin also had what collectors call exceptional eye appeal. That means it wasn't just high grade on paper, it actually looked the part. It had brilliant luster, no visible blemishes, clean fields, and a very strong strike. The design was sharp all the way to the rims. Even under magnification, it stood up to close inspection. When it came to auction, collectors recognized right away what they were looking at. It wasn't a common dime anymore. It was a top-tier condition rarity, a modern coin with a near-perfect grade, a population of 1, and a flawless appearance. The bidding started strong, and it didn't take long for it to gain serious attention. Buyers who normally focused on older coins were interested. Registry collectors knew this was their chance. And one determined bidder eventually secured it for a price that shocked a lot of people in the room, especially those who had walked past hundreds of these coins without a second thought. So now, here's the part you've been waiting for. That 2006 Roosevelt dime, same design, same size, same composition as any other dime you might find in your change, sold at auction for $49,000. Yes, $49,000, for a 10-cent coin. Not because it was old. Not because of a minting error. But simply because it was preserved better than any other example known. That level of quality, rarity, and collector demand turned a modern coin into a high-value collectible. It's a reminder that condition matters, even more than age. And that some of the most valuable coins out there don't look rare at first glance, until you know exactly what to look for. Next up, we have a coin that brings something a little different to the table. We've looked at quality. We've looked at condition. But this one is about something unexpected, something that wasn't supposed to happen at all. Because sometimes, it's not perfection that makes a coin valuable. It's the mistake. At first glance, the 2010 Roosevelt dime looks like any other 10-cent coin. It was struck at the Denver Mint, and over 500 million of these dimes were produced that year. Like most modern coins, the vast majority were quickly rolled, shipped, spent, and circulated without a second thought. But somewhere in the middle of that massive production run, a coin came out that shouldn't have. It wasn't caught by the mint's quality control. It made it past the machines, past the packaging, and eventually into the hands of someone who knew exactly what they were looking at. This was a major mint error, and not just any error. This particular dime was struck off-center and broad-struck, creating a highly visible and dramatic mistake that collectors rarely see on modern coins. Let's break that down. An off-center strike happens when the blank planchet, the round metal piece that becomes the coin, isn't properly aligned inside the coin press. Instead of getting the full design centered within the rim, it gets pushed partially off the edge. That causes part of the image, sometimes including the date, mint mark, or lettering, to be misaligned or even cut off completely. In this 2010 example, the off-center strike was bold, well beyond the minor misalignments you sometimes see. It was the kind of error you don't need magnification to notice. One glance at the coin, and you can tell something unusual happened during minting. But that wasn't the only problem. This coin was also broad-struck, meaning it was struck outside the retaining collar that usually forms the reeded edge of a dime. Without that collar in place, the coin flattens and spreads slightly during the strike, resulting in a smooth edge and a wider, almost distorted shape. It gives the coin a warped, stretched appearance, especially noticeable along the rim. Now here's why this matters. Both of these errors, on their own, are collectible, but not necessarily high value unless they're extreme. But when you get both errors together on a single coin, and they're both clear and strong, that changes the game entirely. Especially when it happens on a modern dime from a high-output mint like Denver, where error rates are generally low and quality control is stricter than it used to be. Collectors love error coins that are easy to identify, dramatic in appearance, and officially authenticated. And this coin checked all those boxes. Once it was discovered, the coin was quickly sent for grading and received official certification confirming both the off-center and broad strike errors. But that wasn't the only thing going in its favor. The coin was also in excellent condition, with sharp details, strong luster, and no signs of wear from circulation. For an error coin, that's a big deal. Because sometimes coins with striking mistakes also suffer damage during handling or shipping. But not this one. It was clean, clearly struck, and preserved with care. With error coins, eye appeal matters just as much as the error itself. And this dime had it: bold visuals, strong contrast, and enough wow factor to draw attention instantly. It wasn't subtle. It was obvious. And that's exactly what makes it attractive to collectors who focus on rare minting mistakes. The coin gained some online exposure through auction previews and error coin forums. Images of it circulated quickly, and experienced collectors began discussing just how rare it was to see a Denver minted dime from 2010 with this combination of dramatic errors in such clean condition. When it eventually came up for auction, interest was already growing. Several serious bidders, including specialists in modern errors and advanced collectors, recognized the opportunity. This wasn't just a flawed coin, it was a conversation piece, a collection highlight, and possibly a one-of-a-kind example. Bidding opened strong, and the competition pushed the final price well beyond the usual range for off-center or broad-struck coins. And when the gavel finally fell, the winning bid reached a total of $34,000. Yes, a Roosevelt dime, dated 2010 and struck at the Denver Mint, sold for $34,000, not because it was perfect, but because it was flawed in all the right ways. This coin is a reminder that mint errors, when they're bold, rare, and preserved, can hold real value in today's market. And sometimes, the most unexpected finds come not from the distant past, but from the pocket change of just a few years ago. So whether you're searching rolls or checking your change, don't just look for shine, look for something different. Because the next big discovery might not be flawless, it might just be beautifully, boldly, and unusually wrong. And that's what makes error coins like this so fascinating. They tell a different kind of story, not about precision, but about unpredictability. A simple shift in alignment or a mechanical slip at the mint turns an ordinary coin into something entirely unique. Now let's explore the last coin in today's finds, and this one offers something unexpected from one of the most ordinary places, the recent past. We're heading to the year 2013, focusing on the Denver Mint's Roosevelt dime. At first glance, there's nothing unusual about it. It's the same design we've seen for decades, struck in the same composition, used for the same purpose. It's a coin that most people have handled hundreds of times without ever giving it a second thought. But this specific 2013 D dime made its way into collector conversations for one simple reason: it achieved something extremely rare, not because of a visible error or a design flaw, but because of how well it was made, and how well it was preserved. The Roosevelt dimes from 2013 were produced in huge quantities, over 1.5 billion coins from the Denver Mint alone. With numbers that high, the assumption is that none of them could be rare. And under normal conditions, that's true. Billions of coins struck at high speed don't usually produce many standouts. But once in a while, one coin gets struck perfectly. And more importantly, that coin manages to survive without being handled, scratched, or marked, even once. It doesn't get dumped into a coin bin. It doesn't bounce around in a register or vending machine. Somehow, it avoids all of that. And that's what happened here. A small number of 2013 D Roosevelt dimes were pulled straight from new rolls, stored carefully, and submitted for grading. Most didn't stand out. A few reached high mint state grades. But then came one particular example that stood above the rest, a coin that received a grade of MS69 full torch. To put that in perspective, a grade of 69 on the 70-point mint state scale is extremely high. It means the coin shows no major flaws even under magnification, with only the tiniest imperfections, ones that most people wouldn't even notice with the naked eye. And that full torch designation? It means the fine details on the reverse, especially the bands around the torch, are fully struck and complete, something surprisingly rare on coins intended for circulation. Even without any historical significance or precious metal content, a coin like this earns attention because of what it represents, the absolute top of the quality spectrum for its year and mint mark. But it's not just about numbers or grading, it's about rarity in context. Because when over 1 billion coins are made, and only a tiny handful reach this level of perfection, those few become collectible benchmarks. They're not just coins anymore, they're the best-known examples of their kind. This 2013 D dime was verified and slabbed by a respected grading service, then quietly moved into private hands. And even without fanfare, its value steadily climbed over time. Modern collectors, especially those building registry sets or focused on top Roosevelt dimes, began placing higher premiums on the few MS69 full torch examples available. The coin didn't need to be rare in age or mintage. Its rarity was all in its condition. What makes this coin even more intriguing is how it challenges common perceptions about collecting. Many people assume that only older coins or those made from precious metals can hold significant value. This dime defies that expectation. It shows that condition, quality, and collector interest can elevate a modern coin to surprising heights. Furthermore, it highlights the meticulous craftsmanship still present at the U.S. Mint, even in coins meant for everyday use. It's a reminder that within seemingly ordinary batches, there can be extraordinary finds waiting to be discovered. Collectors who specialize in modern coins often seek out these rare high-grade pieces as foundational parts of their collections. Having a near-perfect example like this 2013 D Roosevelt dime isn't just a trophy, it's a testament to the subtle beauty and potential value hidden in the coins we handle daily. So, if you ever come across a dime that looks exceptionally sharp and well-preserved, it might be worth a closer look. You never know when something as simple as a 2013 dime could turn out to be something special. Now, here's the key detail: this single 2013 D Roosevelt dime, with its exceptional quality and condition, currently holds a collector market value of $29,000. That's an incredible reminder that even the smallest and most familiar coins can hold surprising value, sometimes far beyond what we might expect. So next time you come across a dime, take a moment to really look at it. You never know what hidden treasures might be waiting right in your pocket. Collecting coins isn't just about the money, it's about discovering stories, history, and rare moments frozen in metal. Every coin has a journey, and sometimes the most ordinary ones end up with the most extraordinary tales. If you have any dimes in your collection or recently found one you think is special, leave a comment below and tell us about it. We'd love to hear your stories. Thanks for joining me on this coin journey today. If you enjoyed learning about these rare dimes, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the notification bell so you never miss an update. Until next time, happy collecting.